The Volkhv was a Slavic shaman and fortune-teller, a person capable of contact with the gods and spirits of ancestors. He lived on the outskirts of villages or in sacred groves, where he performed rituals, healed the sick using herbs and trance, and predicted the future from the flight of birds, runes, or animal entrails. Volkhvs enjoyed enormous respect but also inspired fear. They were considered intermediaries between the world of humans and the afterlife. An interesting fact is that some Volkhvs could fall into ecstasy during ceremonies which resembled shamanic practices among other Eurasian peoples. This profession disappeared mainly due to Christianization. The church treated Volkhvs as dangerous pagans and persecuted them, and later their role was taken over by village healers and whisperers who, however, lost their former rank. The Zhrka served as a priest and sacrificer. He cared for sacred places such as oak groves dedicated to Perun or Swarog's places of worship. He made offerings of food, animals, and in exceptional situations even humans, although the latter were rare and concerned great threats to the tribe. The Zhrka set the dates of holidays, blessed the crops and warriors before expeditions. His knowledge included the lunar calendar and complex rituals. He disappeared with the adoption of Christianity when pagan temples were destroyed and rites replaced by masses. Today, an echo of this role can be seen in folklore, but the original Zhrka as a full-fledged pagan priest no longer exists. The Guslyar, also called a sorcerer, was a specialist in folk magic. He cast spells, warded off evil incantations, prepared amulets, and healed with whispers and herbs. People came to him with love problems, illnesses, or curses. The Guslyar's work combined botanical knowledge with elements of psychology and ritual theatre. An interesting fact is that Guslyars often used symbolic objects, bones, stones, or threads in specific colours. This profession survived the longest in the villages, but disappeared with the spread of scientific medicine and the Enlightenment, which considered such practices as superstition. The Bartnik was involved in forest beekeeping, traditional forest apiculture. He climbed high trees, in which he carved hollows, settled bees in them, and collected honey and wax without destroying the entire swarm. It was a dangerous job requiring vast knowledge of nature. Forest honey was valued as medicine and a trade commodity. Bartniks knew the secrets of the forest and passed them on orally from generation to generation. The profession began to decline with the cutting down of primeval forests and the development of hive apiculture, which was easier and more efficient. The Powroznik, rope maker, made ropes, cords and strings from natural materials, lime bast, hemp, flax or grass. They were essential for building settlements, boats, wagons, fishing nets, and in agriculture. The work required strength and precision, and a good rope maker was respected in every settlement. Interestingly, some Slavic ropes had magical significance. They were used in rituals. The profession disappeared almost completely due to the industrial production of synthetic and steel ropes in the 19th and 20th centuries. The Sitarz specialized in weaving sieves, baskets, mats, and wickerwork from twigs, reeds, or straw. Sieves were used to separate grain from chaff, and baskets served for storage and transport. It was a craft requiring patience and a feel for the material. In Slavic villages, sieve makers often formed entire craft families. It disappeared due to the mass production of plastic and metal sieves, which were cheaper and more durable. The Vizhkaj, spoon maker, carved spoons, bowls, cups, and other wooden vessels. He used knives, chisels, and planes, and the best products were decorated with carved solar or zoomorphic symbols. Wooden spoons were everyday items in every hut. An interesting fact is the high artistic level of some works. Today's ethnographic museums preserve true masterpieces. The profession lost its importance due to cheap ceramic and metal production. The ritual blacksmith not only forged tools and weapons, but also performed magical functions. Blacksmiths were considered people endowed with power. Iron protected against demons, and the forging ritual had a sacred dimension. The ritual blacksmith made amulets, ritual swords, and sacrificial objects. His workshop was a place of secrets. It disappeared with the industrialization of metallurgy and the loss of the magical meaning of the profession. The Prague potter created hand-molded vessels or on a primitive wheel, characteristic of the early Slavs. Ceramics were decorated with geometric or symbolic patterns. The work required knowledge of clay, firing, and decorative tradition. The profession evolved, but the original form of manual tribal pottery disappeared due to factory production. The Chasnik or Wichens was a Slavic sea warrior, pirate, and trader. He sailed the Baltic Sea, raided coasts, and traded amber and slaves. They were excellent sailors and warriors, striking fear even in the Vikings. Their profession disappeared with Christianization and the strengthening of state structures that monopolized violence. The Znachar, healer, combined herbal knowledge with magic. He healed with herbs, compresses, incantations, and rituals. He knew hundreds of plants and their properties. He was the first medical aid in the village. He slowly disappeared through the development of academic medicine, although some practices survived in folklore. The Planetnik, also called a cloudman, was a weatherman, a person who, according to beliefs, could influence the weather, summon rain, or ward off storms. He often combined the role of a healer with rituals. People feared and respected Planetniks. The profession disappeared with the rationalization of the world and the development of meteorology. The Druzhinnik belonged to an elite band of warriors under a tribal ruler. He lived from fighting, spoils, and tributes. He was a professional warrior, often well armed. This profession transformed into knighthood, but the original Druzhinnik form disappeared with feudalism and the creation of regular armies. The Bobrovnik, beaver hunter, hunted beavers for their valuable fur and beaver glands, used in medicine and perfumery. It required vast knowledge of marshes and animal behavior. Beavers were so important that there were special laws protecting them. The profession disappeared due to the extermination of beavers and synthetic furs. The Burshtynnyk, amber collector, collected and processed Baltic amber. It was one of the most valuable Slavic goods in trade with Rome and the East. Amber collectors knew secret routes and processing techniques. The profession lost its former importance due to mass mining and plastic imitations. The Rymars, harness maker, dressed hides and created harnesses, saddles, belts, and strap elements. The work was dirty but essential for transport and horse riding. Harness makers knew the secrets of tanning. It disappeared due to cars and mass leather production. The Bednars, cooper, produced barrels, vats, and wooden vessels for storing beer, mead, and silage. It was precise carpentry and joinery work. Without good coopers, there would be no Slavic brewing. The profession decreased in importance due to metal and plastic packaging. The Konwisarz, tinsmith, cast and manufactured vessels from tin and alloys. He created jugs, plates, and liturgical elements. He was a valued craftsman. He disappeared due to cheap ceramics and stainless steel. The hand weaver wove linens, wools, and decorative fabrics on looms. Women and men were involved in this on long winter evenings. Fabrics had protective patterns. The profession disappeared due to weaving machines in factories. The Ludwigsarz, bell founder, cast church bells, but has roots in pagan bells and ritual gongs. It required metallurgical knowledge and acoustic secrets. The profession partially survived, but the original Slavic ritual form disappeared. These 20 professions show the richness of ancient Slavic culture, a combination of practice, craft, and sacrum. Their disappearance is not only the result of progress, but also the loss of part of identity. Today we return to them in historical reconstructions, open-air museums, and neo-paganism, trying to save the memory of a world in which man lived in greater harmony with nature and tradition.